I was not expecting a giant car. Hello, not strictly adolescent people. This is KRBrickBot, and I'll be reviewing the 2019 re-release of Helloka봇 Arty. That is Sonata Sonata. The original Sonata Arty was released in April of 2015, and this re-release came out in November of 2019. Taking a look at the packaging. So compared to the original box, there used to be the Hyundai, KBS, and QR code blurbs here, but there were some age and 3D animation and TV advertisement blurbs that were here but have been relocated here. And there is no Sonata, it's just the plain character name. And if this was a Sonata, there would have been a 1/21 scale here. And some more little technical blurbs and warnings, and Sonata logo replaced with Toy Rock logo. And they still have the Naval Commander Yi Sun-Shin, the 470th anniversary memorial tribute right on top of here. That's 1545, the year he was born, just to be clear. And that's a extra 4 years there, and there is this traditional Korean tiger face. And this right here, says he's a dark magician. And there's some extra smoke here just to accentuate that. And right here, dark magician, but I'm not exactly sure that's actually shown in his character. So if you compare this new packaging back layout compared to the original box layout, it is pretty similar, except all the Hyundai references are removed. So this is just a plain old car to robot, not a 1/21 scale Sonata. There's still the features of the shield and the sword. Different stock photos there. And there used to be a little App Store advertisement, but that's gone. The technical information and warning labels are different. There's the date right there, and there used to be an advertisement for the Sonata online shop, but that's been replaced with the Toy Rock shop. I've taken a look at both and they're about the same. Now to take a look at the product itself. First, taking a look at the robot mode. You can see Arty is based off some sort of ancient warrior, well, a Korean warrior or the Korean general Yi Sun-Shin as mentioned on the box. What really sells that is basically his head sculpt, which looks like his helmet with a little red hinged plume. And also these oriental designed chest pieces, and which are also on his thighs here, which look like little oriental dragons. And the shoulders are also looking pretty oriental. A nice combination of black, dark red, and gold. And I guess these chest panels and these little details on his torso kind of resemble Yi Sun-Shin's armor. And some gold armored or plated legs. And in the show, he has a little Carbot symbol on the shoulder here, but there is no tampograph here. So it's good either way. If there was only one here, it would kind of break the symmetry, but that's one scale less of show accuracy. And it kind of looks like there's a little extra overdose of gold paint on my copy here. The arms are very simple in design, but the legs have some very nice technical greebling. Yes, look at all those pseudo hydraulics and wires and little studs and rivets and such. Also on this side, his first accessory is this car roof shield. It's screwed in there with some nice mechanical detailing underneath. So you can plug this 5mm hole. And you can also align it up with this little tab that's right here. You could also do it in the other hand. Although then that doesn't really let this little tab in here. So by default, he's holding it in his left hand. And his other accessory is a sword. A rather thick looking sword with a very long hilt and a little thick blade. That's thicker on the top and kind of thin in the middle. There's some decent greebling and lining there. And a very specific hole for plugging in the robot mode for vehicle mode storage. A octagonal 5mm hole. A pretty elongated, unique hilt shape. Yeah, it's a decent, safe sword. And you can just plug it in the hand like that. Except the funny thing is, like pretty much all the original Carbots, Arty was never shown using this sword in the show. Except for the statue Yi Sun-Shin sword in that little special. Just some very minor nitpicks that overall do not detract from this figure. So his hands are molded in this kind of elongated shape. I mean, that is, the fingers are very long. They kind of stretch out like that. So it doesn't look the most natural when he's holding a little accessory like this sword here. Not so noticeable when he's holding the shield. And the other major nitpick, these car doors cover up the hollow bits that would plague other transforming cars nicely, but these hinges really do not have anywhere to lock in, so they might flop around on the little pin over time when the friction on this thing wears off. Like so. Arty is what you would call a shell former. You could pretty much remove all his car parts except for his feet and still have a functioning robot. But since the kibble ends up all on his shoulders and his back, and his feet and his shield roof, this is a good example of a shell former. And this back kibble, if you reveal the flap, it is very roomy and hollow in there. In real life, there should be some more car engine bits, but this is a toy, not a real scale model. With some interior detail there. So with this hollow bit, you could store the sword in here if you want. Or the shield, which really doesn't work unless you just tab it in here. But then that looks like a goofy sunroof. Or you can have a passenger in there if you want. And I've noticed these little tabs jutting out of here. I just thought they were pretty useless. And it's not for locking any doors in the transformation. But then I realized this is actually for holstering the sword on either end. That's a pretty great storage solution. I've gone for the longest time not knowing that undocumented feature existed. The de-licensed instructions certainly don't show that. Articulation. The head is on a ball socket. Although there is not much clearance with that high neck space and a big helmeted head. So he has a very minor side-to-side head wiggle and looks down a little bit that much and down a little bit that much. And the side-to-side is also swiveled. That is limited swivel. As a human head should be. The shoulders go out that much. The elbows are on a somewhat stiff 90-degree ratchet joint. Not exactly 90 degrees, it's more like a 95. No bicep swivels, but at least there's a transformation joint that goes inward, so you can have him do a forward blocking pose. The arms go forward that much and back that much. It's limited this far. There must be some sort of stopper in there. Probably to prevent this arm from clashing against this shoulder door. Ratchet leg goes forward that much, back that much. Splits. Perfect 180-degree splits. Thigh swivels. A knee joint that only goes forward that much. And 2 hinge joints for the foot. Pretty standard, decent articulation. Except the standard usually also includes bicep swivels, but that's besides the point. Size comparisons. Masterpiece Optimus Prime. The rather dark Nemesis Prime. And the other Yi Sun-Shin-inspired robot, Great Admiral. Transformation is quite fiddly. That will be a challenge to little 3-year-olds. So first, you can store the weapon on either L-shaped hand plug here. Then fold down the shoulders and put them together, closing in these spring-loaded chest panels. Then close that in, so that Arty is covering his nether regions. You can take the shield here to easily differentiate that, so he's really covering his nether regions. Fold down that plume, flip that up. Fold down these door panels, flip that up. Tab it in here. Take one foot, flip this out, flip the feet in. But first, double hinge that in until it's very nestled in there. Do the same for the other foot. Tab it in. Bend the knees. Tap these little tabs into these little slots in the roof shield. And this is the fiddliest part. You have to put in the front doors first, then the rear doors. And frankly, these square tabs are kind of hard to tab in. I think it would have been better if they were rounder. Fiddly. So if you try doing that the other way, the back door first and then the front door, this little tab here gets in the way, so you have to do the front door first, rear door back next. See what I mean about the tab here? Okay, I think that's good. Arty is a car that is so not a Sonata 2015 CVVL. But this is... And this one is pretty old, you can see because how this thing has got yellowed. Anyway, the only real discernible difference is the logo, of course. This one had the proud Hyundai logo, and this one has been replaced with the Carbot symbol. But hey, at least it's show accurate now. And the back is pretty much as similar except for the remolding of the Hyundai symbol here and perfectly symmetrical Hyundai licensing here. Also, if you can see on the camera, there's the silver Sonata CVVL right there, besides the license plate. This is not a Sonata, so poof. Also, if you take a look at the box, which shows the animation model, there is a little Carbot symbol in half on each side of the leg, but this is just plain, no sticker or raised decal or anything. Also, no license plate. Branding aside, this still is a almost true to form replica of the Hyundai Sonata. Those nice transparent sweatback modern headlights and those rear lower headlights, and the nice painted black bumper, door handles, some black rear view mirrors, soft rubber I might add, with some silver paint or stickers in there, a little gas valve true to form, a tiny little antenna for the roof shield. There's some minor paint discrepancy between the white plastic and the white paint that lines the panels, but it blends pretty nicely. Unless, of course, it's yellowed or somewhat. And the standard robot kibble, at least there's no visible head. And the front is also looking pretty nice and greebly there. There's Choi Rock right there, 2015. This mold is 2015, except for the new molded parts. Still, a former Hyundai car that's still being re-released to this day. Size comparison. Masterpiece Movie Bumblebee. The Sonata Arty Taxi from Road Saver. And some other smaller figurines that might scale with this car. Little old Transformer Adventure Fix-It. A Star Wars Rebels Stormtrooper. And the SD figure Chatan, which I may or may not review if I decide to drop $100 and get 12 non-articulated standard PVC figures. Anyway, if it wasn't for that SD head, I think this is a pretty nice scale. You just won't stand up, will you? And I'll also transform it back to robot mode. First step is to flip out these doors, which it does replicate a actual opening doors pretty nicely this way, although the hinges are slightly different here and there's nothing but robot interior in there. Unhinge that, flip this back, and I'm sure many kids will just brush this thing against the head and thus scrape it. So be careful if this thing ever gets stuck here. Split, flip out, foot, panel on the back to cover this gaping hole, other foot, legs, flip these forward so the shoulders can go back, and the doors. Pretty easy, but not quite easy. In the midst of the swath of new Carbots rolling out, good and iffy, I'm glad to see the originals are still being re-released, even though they're not Hyundais. And Arty was well due for a re-release after nearly 4 years with no re-releases between. Most of the original Hyundai cars had a re-release period around in 2017, which for some reason did not include Arty, but they did release Sonata Arty Taxi in 2017 for some reason. Arguably the less prominent and popular version of Arty. A bonus mini review of Sonata Arty Taxi. They're basically the same except for the different color palette and a new head sculpt, which some may or may not like. And what's clearly Korean Oriental inspired armor bits, like these very angular and rigid shoulders and chest panels, and also these little oriented details here, which are the exact same for Arty Taxi except they're all plain white, which kinda makes it look out of place. in my opinion. Kind of makes it look out of place and doesn't really quite work for me, in my opinion. And yes, that slightly more generic head sculpt with a somewhat cap-like design and a rigid faceplate and green eyes and a yellow crest and little black sides make him look like a completely different character and not Arty. Well, at least he has an extra nice splash of yellow there, as opposed to the original Arty's plain red chest. And the Hyundai Sonata in orange with an international taxi bar is a nice replica of the Seoul signature taxis. Oh, and also there's a very different noticeable shade of orange here between this taxi and this taxi. Overall, Arty is still a great Transformer and the quintessential Korean warrior Transformer. Well, that and Great Admiral. And Arty is a good differentiation from the typical Japanese samurai-inspired Transformers. Arty should be showing up in international seller stores like eBay pretty soon. Except they'll still probably be using Sonata Arty, but keep in mind that it is almost 100% going to be this not Sonata Arty. It's also available in Taiwan and other Asian countries, just to point out. But if for some reason you would also like to get this orange taxi version, well, it's not being produced at the moment, but there might be a not Sonata Arty taxi re-release in the works. And this is also available in other Asian countries.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to tune in for more Korean robot content. And feel free to share and comment as well. And until next time, this is KRBrickBot signing off.